Hello YouTube, we're back baby. Week 2. Did you miss me? I missed you. We're back with another art tutorial. We love art, we love tutorials, and today we're going to combine the two and learn something new. What's better than that? New knowledge. Nothing. So, right in front of you, right in front of your eyes, right now, there's 3 compositions. I use Photoshop and pictures of myself. All you need is Photoshop. You don't really need pictures of yourself. If you want, you could. If not, you could definitely find something on Google. So today I'm going to deep dive how we made these, and I will show you the process. So let's get to it. Hello, what is up YouTube? Welcome to the channel. If you just watched the previous segment, I'm going to go over how to make those gradient portrait fun things that I showed you before. And this is the setup. I'm gonna do time lapse of me building like the lights and stuff, and we're gonna get some pictures and we're gonna go edit them, and we'll go like a little step-by-step tutorial. This is a fun video to show you that I just had an idea like 5 minutes ago. I'm like, let's do it, and you can too. That's the best part about art. Anyone can do it. So I'm gonna teach you how to do the gradient thing, and I hope it comes out well. And this is the beginning of the tutorial. So watch me go set up some lights, and we're gonna take some pictures. Cool? Okay. Bye. So, hopefully we got enough pictures. I think we did a good job. There's a bunch that we could work with. So I'm gonna pack this up and move upstairs. We're gonna edit these and see what we could come up with. Okay, so we're back in Photoshop and we're gonna look at the pictures we got today. We got 3 solid options. I'm gonna start off with the self-portrait of me. So I'm gonna click on that in Photoshop and I'm gonna go on the right. If you didn't know, instead of masking out the whole entire background with the magic wand tool or the pen tool, you can just click on the image, and on the right side there's quick actions now in Photoshop 2020 to remove the background. And look at that, it gets rid of the whole entire background. I wish I knew about this or it existed when I was in school. So I'm gonna draw a circle over myself because I don't want the whole composition to just be my body. I want just like a floaty head type of vibe. So I'm gonna draw a circle and I'm gonna make the layer go below my face to align it the way I want. So once it's aligned the way I want, I'm gonna get rid of the portrait of myself and I'm gonna select it with the selection tool. So I hit W and select the whole circle and make sure you selected the circle layer. So once you have the circle layer selected, you can go and show the portrait layer, the image layer, whatever you're using, and then you're gonna keep the selection there, but you're gonna select the layer of the image you wanna like get rid of or edit. So then I'm gonna do Command-Shift-I, and that gets rid of everything else besides the selection. So it inverts what the selection is. So instead of deleting everything inwards, it deletes everything on the outside. So once I delete the rest of my body, I'm gonna get rid of my circle, and look at that, we got my floating little head. But I want it to be a little bigger, so we're gonna make that a little bit bigger. I think that's a good space to get to where we want it. So I'm just gonna duplicate it just to be safe, because you never know, you might mess up, you never know what's gonna happen. So right now I'm gonna zoom in and I wanna delete like just my face. So I'm gonna make the quick selection tool and I'm gonna edit it so it's just my face, because I want my hat and my shirt to be the same, but I want the gradient effect to be on my face. So right now I'm just gonna clean up the selection a little bit. And once the selection's cleaned up, you could definitely go and pick a color that you want. So I'm gonna pick this nice yellow here and use the brush tool, and you wanna make sure the opacity is 100, the flow is a little lower because you don't want it to be like so intense, you want it to be more of a smooth gradient effect. So I have the opacity on 100 and the brush tool, I have the flow on about like 30%. I think that's what it says. Let's go with 30. So I'm just gonna color my face yellow at the bottom over here and just get a nice little brush pattern going on. And that looks good. It's really blending for my body. And then I'm gonna pick a complementary color. I definitely want to go to pink. I'm gonna brush that, and look, we're getting somewhere. So you're just gonna cover over the selection while your selection is still selected. That was selection, I said selection a lot. But while the selection is still selected, so you could color inside the lines. So then once you brush the gradient, it's gonna start looking like this. And I'm gonna top it off with a nice little teal color. We're gonna color that bad boy in, and look at that, my face is gone. But we got a little fun gradient portrait going on. I think we got it to a good point. Look at that, beautiful. It's a nice little gradient. So I'm gonna make sure that's what I want, and then I'm gonna move on to work on the background. And before I move on to the background, I just like to get rid of like the little doodads in the corner. I want it to be like more of a smooth pixel than just a bunch of little bips and bops. So I'm just gonna use the eraser tool and just go along the edge wherever I see it's bumpy, because it's not a perfect like remove background tool or like the selection. You always want to like clean it up a bit. I'm gonna clean up a bit of my hat because there's no fuzzies, and I'm just gonna make the whole edge more smoother because I just think the composition looks better when it's not a bunch of little pixels and points. So once we get it to a point I like, we're gonna go and work on the background. Looking good. So to start with the background, I'm just gonna mess around and put a nice rectangle on the back of what color I think will look good in the composition. So today we're gonna start off and make it maybe a nice light yellow. There we go. And then basically you just wanna have fun with it. I use the brush tool and then I basically just color in what I want. So I'm gonna start off with blue because I wanna stay like in the same vein of what I created for the gradient of my face. So we're gonna mess around with the background, make sure you can edit it, and we're just gonna color it in with our brush tool. Okay, so once you get the background to a place you want it, you're gonna wanna go add some noise on it because the noise always makes the composition feel a little less flat. So I'm just gonna do uniform noise and just a bit of the percent, and look at that, it already seems a little more textured and it makes for a nicer background. So I'm just gonna mess around with my drawing to get it to where a place I like it. I'm just gonna drag it out and mess around with it. You guys can create whatever you want for the background. I was just feeling little polka dots and a little lines because I wanted to match with what the composition was. So look at that, we got one nice little gradient portrait. We got our distressed background, the noise, the selfie, and we did that all ourselves. So we're gonna move on to the next composition right now. Composition 2, hitting them with the peace sign. And by peace sign, I mean let's remove the rest of my body because we don't want that. Goodbye, body, goodbye. So once we get that, I'm gonna remove the background like I showed you before on the right side because Photoshop is amazing and it is so much more talented than me in the pen tool. So I'm gonna remove the background and then I'm gonna put my hand right in the middle, right like that. And then we're gonna get started on our composition. So for this one, I just want my hand to be a little gradient and not my sleeve because I want my like gradient to come out of the sleeve. So I'm gonna duplicate the sleeve layer just in case because I don't wanna mess up. And then I'm gonna select just the hand, no shirt, just the hand. So I'm gonna mess around and do the selection right now. It takes a bit of time, but you want it to be perfect or else the composition won't look as good as you want it to. So once you get it to a position you like, you can Command-Shift-I and then delete the sleeve or whatever the other composition is. Command-Shift-I, remember, deletes everything out and then keeps everything in. So I got rid of my sleeve and then I'm just gonna clean up the edges here a bit because I don't wanna see any black, any pixels. I'm just gonna go around the whole hand and clean it up a bit. So good thing I duplicated the layer because that allows us to bring our sleeve back. So now after that, I'm gonna make sure my selection is still selected because you always wanna have the selection, the original selection still, because you don't wanna be coloring all outside or trying to get it perfect. You wanna color just inside those lines. So I'm gonna start off over here with the red color for my hand, and let's make it a little lighter. So we're just gonna color that in and then keep going over it till it gets darker, and look at that, it's at a place we want it. Then I feel like a nice warm tone gradient will look great coming out of the hand. So we're gonna add orange, and then maybe we'll switch it up and add a bit of purple at the top. And look at that, we got a little gradient hand coming right out of my sleeve. So after we get the hand to where we want it, or whatever composition you're working on, we're gonna mess with the background. So I always start with a light color, and then I color it in or do whatever composition I want. I'm feeling some polka dots for this one because they just look so good. It's just so fun to put on the background. You don't want any like crazy eye-catching drawings. You want just something that's neutral so you could focus on the composition itself. So I'm gonna work with the colors we used in the hand already. Then of course we gotta add some noise because that always adds a nice texture effect. I'm gonna make it larger so you just see a little bit of the circle so it looks like one big mishmash. And look at that, we got composition 2 ready to go. We're hitting them with the peace sign because we're gonna move on to the third composition. Okay, so now right in front of you, you should have your third composition. You don't have to do 3 like me. I'm just crazy and just think everything revolves around 3s. So we're gonna work with this image right over here. So this one's a little intense. You think Photoshop's gonna remove the background? Of course it is. We're gonna hit remove background, and it is so smart. It knows how to get rid of everything. So it's pretty pixel perfect, but it's not 100%. So I always wanna go in and like delete whatever you don't want for the image. So I think this one's pretty good. But for this composition, I want just my shirt, and the selection tool is not that smart. So I'm going to use the pen tool and just plot out exactly what I want to cut out and color in. So excuse me while I go use the pen tool real quick. Okay, so once you pen tool out whatever you don't want, you're gonna select it, you're gonna make sure it's selected, because the pen tool doesn't do anything until you select it as its own selection. So once you see the little marching ants and not the little line, that means you have your selection going. The selection tool is W, so that's like if you wanna just use the selection tool, but the pen tool is P. So that you could use either one to get rid of it, but I prefer the pen tool if you want it to be more pixel perfect. So once we get the shirt to where I want it, I'm not gonna color this one in. I'm gonna use a gradient, and the gradient key is G. And in the top left, you could see like the little gradient thing. You could select the gradient and make it whatever colors you want. I'm just rocking with the pastel vibe today. So we're gonna get the shirt where we want it and the gradient where we want it. So you're gonna hit G and then draw your line from the top to the bottom and get a gradient to the way you like it. I like it when it's just a nice boop bop beep type of action, not like anything crazy, because I think you want it to like look like a real shirt, like it's blending in with something you'd wear. You don't want any like rainbow or something crazy. You could do that. I just felt like it'll look better if it's like a shirt I'd actually wear. So we got that type of action going on, and I definitely need to correct the little edges over here. So I'm just gonna erase them and smooth it out. And my shoes didn't get selected the best, so I'm just gonna erase. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I hope no one zooms in. No one zoom in on my shoes. You got that, comments? Nobody zoom in on the shoes. So I'm just gonna try to get that as good as I can. And then we're gonna move on to work on the background. Look at that, we got a nice little composition right there of my body. But it needs more, so let's work on the background. So I'm just gonna draw a rectangle. As always, put that behind everything, because you wanna see your beautiful self in your composition. And we're gonna bring that behind, and purple is too dark. Let's go with a light pink to match the bottom of my shirt. So we're gonna get that light pink going. And then I think I just want me to be in a box, because it looks like I'm floating and I need there to be some depth. Like I need to stand on the floor. I can't just be in outer space. I'm not in Star Wars. Even though I've been watching on Star Wars this week. Oh my god, guys. Episode 2 is literally just Padme and Anakin fan fiction, but we don't have to discuss that. That's for the next video. Just kidding. But we're gonna go and keep continuing working on the background. I'm gonna use the brush tool and do a complementary color that will like blend but be darker, so it looks more like in depth and textured than usual. So we're gonna make sure we can color in the background, and I'm just gonna draw a little box around me so I could stand on the box. So for this color, I definitely want it to be darker so it looks more of a like floor or frame than it would be just me standing in space. I'm just gonna pick dark red, and I'm just gonna color on the floor, and look at that, it looks like I'm standing on something. And we're just gonna color a little box around me, and look at that. It's so much better than me floating in space. There's me in my cool gradient shirt. I wish it was real. I'd buy one. Future merch? Maybe. Just kidding. I don't know how to make a gradient shirt. Maybe that'll be a tutorial one day. So once we get that selected, you're gonna click on your background. I'm gonna filter, add noise. You always wanna add your noise so the background looks more textured. You want it to just be flat and just one CMYK color. You want it to feel real. So once we get that going, it looks way better. So look at that, we got our third composition, 3 out of 3. So I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you guys mess with the gradient tool and the selection tool and give yourself some cool gradient clothes, or like gradient the sky or the trees or something, and just make something cool, because that's what art is. It's all about making stuff that makes your heart happy. So I hope you learned something cool. I hope I made your heart happy today, and let me know if you make anything. Send it my way in the comments on Instagram, whatever works. But I can't wait to see what you make, and I hope it goes great. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.